Age verification is there to keep our innocent and pure kids from the degenerate and vile internet.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Of course, every single one of us supports all laws against all evil for the sake of all good. However, how does one tell if you are a kid online? This kind of question is why the UK, Australia, and in the future I think even more countries will turn towards age verification methods to ensure the age of internet users. These methods are exactly what I want to talk about today. If you need a bit more background on how we got there and what's coming, stay with me. You have a little bit of catching up to do. Everyone else, feel free to jump forward to the next section. Okay, so if you spent the last few months away from the internet, first of all, can you teach me how you did that? Second, the UK has been under quite a bit of scrutiny after single-handedly deciding that all internet platforms like YouTube, Facebook, or Discord now require age verification to protect kids from undesirable content. On December 10th, Australia will ban social media registration for anyone under 16 years old, and similarly drastic restrictions are rumoured to be upcoming for US and EU citizens. In any case, certain websites that want to continue operating in the UK or Australia will now have to offer a verification method. So let's take a look at those. There is not much you can do to ensure that visitors to your website are of a certain age. If you are of age, you remember the good old honor system that stuck with us from the early 2000s, when a website would ask, "Are you over 18?" We would all definitely reply, "Yes." Why, yes we are. I don't have to elaborate on why that just doesn't work. "Are you a criminal, sir?" "No, I promise." Yet a lot of platforms still use this method. Steam does that, for example. So if you can't rely on users being honest about their age, that's where less desirable methods come in. For instance, the UK defaults to document verification now. This method requires users to upload a copy of their government-issued ID to prove their age. Alternatively, some websites accept credit card info since you have to be over 18 to acquire such a card in the first place. Still, this is not the only option. Biometric verification is also a feasible method to check age. Facial recognition software in particular can point out a person's age with certain accuracy, or it can be used as an additional check to ensure that the person behind the screen is the one whose ID was submitted. One more method that can be used but is not used enough is third-party database verification. Instead of having every website verify user age by itself, a third-party database could already confirm a user's age, and the information from this database would serve as proof. So after hearing about those methods, is there anything weird about them? Can you see any issues? No? Well, let me point to the most obvious one. These methods are circumventable. Granted, not all of them, but more than one. For instance, Discord's facial recognition has been famously bypassed with footage of Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding. Another win for photorealistic game footage. Or how about VPN usage spiking to 500% in the UK, with separate providers like ProtonVPN recording a 1400% rise in demand. The UK government is even looking into that right now because it turns out that age verification is rather ineffective if the website doesn't know you're in the UK. But you know what? At least the verification via ID is effective enough. It allows platforms to leak even more user data. Wait, what? Oh, it turns out that the websites and apps the UK government trusted with the biometric and personally identifiable information of their constituents are notoriously bad at keeping their data safe. Discord has just recently been hit by a data breach exposing a lot of the proof of age IDs of the users, after promising to not even store those IDs in the first place. And if you think at least Australia has it handled and social media platforms don't leak data that often, you know it's bad that with everything I've mentioned so far, I haven't even touched on genuinely malicious applications of user data. All this personally identifiable information used to verify user age is a fast pipeline to identify theft, fraud, and phishing scams. Heck, many microfinance organizations require only the person's ID. I don't want to wake up to a predatory loan hanging over my head. But let's say that the governments worldwide deemed us a worthy sacrifice to protect the kids. Do they also have to sacrifice free speech? The UK Online Safety Act has already affected the conversation about the things happening between Israel and Palestine, and it has reportedly affected the whole issue with the immigration-related tensions in the UK as well. Considering the government has already gone above and beyond to silence and threaten their critics, having access to personally identifiable data of any person engaging in undesirable conversations online is just like George Orwell's Animal Farm. Haha, what you expected a 1984 reference again? No. I have read more than one book about dystopian societies, thank you very much. So let's summarize. Now that we are promised that the government will finally look after children online, what do we get in return? Call me whatever you want, but those regulations not only expose regular people to ridiculous levels of risk, but most of the time they don't even achieve their goals. For the law that has been mulled over since 2022, the Online Safety Act did surprisingly little to guarantee that it will not damage more than it attempts to save. Something tells me that all the laws planned to come into action in Australia, the US, or the EU will suffer a similar fate. I admit, it's not often that I make videos like this, but I just couldn't stay silent when it comes to cybersecurity. If you'd like more content like this or some recommendations for apps that can protect you, follow my channel and give this video a like. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon. And let's stay safe online, even if some politicians try their best not to let us. Cheers.